Alright, E3/not E3 season is in full effect as Sony has announced they will be joining the summer festivities by having a State of Play tomorrow, that is on June 4th, which means there's a lot that could show up there because this is a Sony-specific event. So we're going to break down some of my predictions in this video, which does include Final Fantasy, oddly enough, that could show up there. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button. It really does help out a ton, and it really does get the channel out there. It's always greatly appreciated. And if you're new here and you like Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Oni Musha, Ghost of Yotei, consider subscribing, because that's what we cover here on the channel. And it's always nice to get differing opinions and views on different games. Kind of keeps things fresh and it keeps me sane. And as always, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Alright, so it's starting to feel like a proper E3 week from when I was a little kid. We've got events from Sony coming up, Summer Game Fest, we've got an Xbox event happening this Sunday as well, so hopefully we're in store for some really cool surprises and big reveals. Now, I did do a video last week covering Summer Game Fest, so there might be some overlap between that video and this one, but I'll try my best to not repeat myself because I know that gets annoying. But just a heads up, should anything Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 or 9 Remake happen at any one of these events, I'll be watching it live, but I will mute my TV and run out of the room as if I'm being chased by Jason Voorhees, because I would actually like to do a proper reaction video to those trailers should they happen. And I've never done a proper reaction video to a new Final Fantasy coming out, which I think could be a lot of fun, get your guys' thoughts and reactions on the trailer, and it can lead into a bigger discussion for other videos. So should that happen, just keep an eye on the channel. I'll be posting those reactions over the course of a day or two. So moving over to this Sony State of Play, which is supposed to be 40 plus minutes long, which could mean anything from 50 minutes to 42 minutes and 30 seconds. We don't really know, but it's supposed to feature developers from across the globe. So that says to me first and third party. So hopefully some cool stuff shows up here. And historically, State of Plays have kind of ranged from this could have been an email to, oh my god, that was incredible, I'm losing my mind. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Sony used to announce these State of Plays at least like 1 week in advance, which I appreciated. It gave me ample time to prepare a video, structure it out, what are my thoughts and predictions, and now essentially Sony's like, get in the car, loser, we're going shopping. It's happening now, it's immediate. So apologies if this video is a little frantic and frenzied, it's not like I had a lot of time. But starting off first of what I hope to see at this event, and we are going with Oni Musha Way of the Sword. I'm a huge Oni Musha fan. I've been a fan since the first game came out and I was a little kid. It was my Devil May Cry before Devil May Cry came along and eventually kind of replaced Oni Musha. It became the de facto action game for Capcom, but I still have a very special place in my heart for that franchise because the games are so good and so much fun. And I've been having a blast with Oni Musha 2, which got remastered recently, and it's a proper remaster, especially when you compare it to Oni Musha 1, which was pretty much a bare bones port that Capcom just threw out there, I feel, as feelers to gauge whether or not people were interested. So they didn't really do too much with it. But with 2, the backgrounds, the characters are all cleaned up and upscaled properly. Files and documents that Jubei comes across have also been cleaned up and are in proper 16:9 with new font and high resolution images. There's tons of special features, including the game's soundtrack, bonus modes, quality of life stuff up the butt. It's amazing. I had a blast finishing it. And I think it's time to continue that Oni Musha momentum with something new in regards to Way of the Sword. Now, we've gotten a few trailers and info dumps for the game. We also got a Capcom event, which could have been an email. All they basically said was, here's the game, here's the same trailer, here's our main character, Miyamoto Musashi, please be excited. So I would really love for them to show off a new trailer that really kind of encompasses everything from story to character to gameplay mechanics. Now, speaking of gameplay, I would really love to see proper gameplay footage with UI, because I really want to get an idea of what this game is going to feel like, because there's been discussions over the past few months of how is this game going to control? Will it be more like a character action game? Will it be more like a Souls-like, like a Sekiro? But I think what it'll eventually be is just taking what Oni Musha was with specifically 2 and 3 and just evolving that for modern day and keeping that kind of same vibe with Way of the Sword, because there are callbacks to the original game. There's those, special charge attack abilities, expanding on parrying and critical strikes. but I would really love to get a glimpse of the game's battle UI and the menus just to kind of get an idea of what they're going for. But Capcom games, specifically Onimusha games, have always controlled a certain way, so I would expect Capcom to just have their own Capcom stamp on this gameplay, and it'll feel like something that's unique, hopefully. But with the game coming out in 2026, no firm release date, now is really where you want to kick that marketing into gear and remind people, yeah, Onimusha's back, we got a new game coming out, and it's gonna look pretty sick. And traditionally, whenever we get something in relation to Onimusha, it's been at a Sony event. So I'm guessing they probably got some sort of exclusivity agreement with Capcom in regards to the marketing rights for Onimusha, so they really want to closely associate it with the PlayStation brand. Now, our next game, in a similar vein to Onimusha, that is Ghost of Yotei. I'm a big fan of this franchise, play the crap out of Ghost of Tsushima. I still jump back into that game throughout the year just to revisit it, ride my horse, fight some enemies, progress through the story. It's such a beautiful world to just get lost in. I can't wait for Yotei, which is literally right around the corner. October 2nd is when this game is coming out. So I would expect this game to show up at every Sony event moving forward so they can really push it out there. Now, in regards to this game, we've gotten some small trailers and a few info dumps on what the story is going to be. Our main character of Atsu, why she's out for revenge against the Yotei 6, which is a gang that killed her family and left her for dead. And we did learn recently how she adopts the name of the ghost, which is cool because initially I thought, oh, maybe she's going to be inspired by the tale that came 300 years before her of Jin Sakai. Maybe his legend is still looming across that land. I don't think that's the case, although I do hope that they have some sort of homage to Jin in this game. Maybe there's a tomb, maybe there's an armor set, maybe there's something that just pays respect to what came before and how he laid the foundation. But as far as Atsu goes, she kind of has a similar path to Jin in the sense that she becomes this force to be reckoned with. She's killing people left and right. She is seemingly unkillable. She's saving people, doing some incredible feats. So people dub her the Onryo, which from my understanding is a Japanese term describing a vengeful female spirit, a ghost, if you will. So in English, that would translate to the ghost. So that's how she adopts the name of the ghost because of that tale she builds for herself. So she's not taking up the mantle of Jin, she's creating her own, which I think is super cool. It fits within the anthology style if that's what they want to do with this series. Should they not return and do a Tsushima 2 that ties up Jin's story with that second wave of the Mongols, what happens with his uncle? It's a pretty cool foundation to lay for a franchise. But hopefully we get a new trailer that expands on gameplay, maybe some of the world exploration that you can do, more combat stuff, but everything is shaping up to be really incredible with this game. Visually, it's stunning. I'm already into what Atsu's doing. She seems super cool, and we're gonna get a wolf companion. How is that not awesome? That wolf is gonna be biting people in their butts and their arms, taking people down. It's gonna be sick. Up next, one I'm really excited for, and this one could actually happen and come to fruition, and that is something in regards to Resident Evil. Now, traditionally, when something new happens for this franchise, it does occur at a Sony event, namely the State of Plays. So a Resident Evil 9 could very much happen here. And again, the last time we had a Resident Evil game come out was RE4 Remake back in 2023, I believe. So Capcom tends to get these games developed really quick on that RE engine. They always come out great. So I would expect they've been working on something for a while. And there have been rumors and leaks in regards to this game. I've talked about some of the rumors, but one thing I don't like to do on this channel is cover leaks. And the only leak I ever did cover was in relation to Final Fantasy IX, and that's because it just became too big to avoid. And that was a leak that kind of encompassed this really massive list of games. So I'm like, that kind of creates an interesting jumping off point to talk about, you know, a potential remake of Final Fantasy IX. But we'll cover more of the leak stuff later. But in regards to Resident Evil 9, there's been so many people throwing stuff back and forth, hoping it sticks to the wall. Oh, the game's gonna have Chris. No, it's gonna have Leon. Jill's gonna be in it. They're gonna do this. It's gonna be located here. It's gonna be open world. It's gonna be linear. Nobody really knows, but I full on expect a Resident Evil 9 trailer to show up here. Maybe Leon is the main character. Maybe he's a little older. Maybe he's got a beard. Maybe he's got some back issues. I don't know, but it feels like the right time for Capcom to be like, oh yeah, here's our next Resident Evil. It's gonna be sick. Please be excited. So maybe a nice cool teaser trailer that introduces our characters, what the story is going to be, maybe some cool gameplay stuff to give us an idea of, the direction they want to go with the franchise. Because we've already gotten 7 and 8, which was like the Ethan Winters tale, which is now over. So we're going to be jumping back most likely to our OG cast and putting them in new environments, in dangerous situations. But I am crossing my fingers that Jill Valentine is in the game. I love her. She's underutilized. I love Leon. I love Chris, but we get those guys a lot. So maybe we could get a return to Jill Valentine. Let's put some respect on her name. And now moving on to our last 2 games, which are the reasons why everyone is watching this video, assuming it does well, and that is Final Fantasy. So before we get to Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 teases and Final Fantasy IX Remake, there's been some interesting movement in regards to Final Fantasy Tactics, which has been rumored to be getting a remake about as long as Final Fantasy IX has been rumored to be getting one. And this is interesting. So this comes to us from Genki on Twitter, who noticed that Yasumi Matsuno, who was the director of Final Fantasy Tactics, retweeted that State of Play announcement from PlayStation. And then following that, Jason Schreier, who is a pretty well-known industry insider and journalist, he usually has a ton of reliable scoops, also just randomly posted on Blue Sky saying, "I'm just saying, Final Fantasy Tactics is one of the greatest games ever made." Now, what's interesting is that Matsuno deleted that retweet from State of Play. So maybe he wasn't supposed to hint at anything. Maybe they want that to be a big reveal at the State of Play that, yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics Remake is real and it's going to be hitting maybe next year, but they're going to announce it at this show. And normally that would just be, oh, this person retweeted this or this person said that, but this is all happening literally the week of Summer Game Fest and the day before State of Play is set to go live. So the chances of Tactics Remake getting announced here are seemingly pretty high. Now, full transparency, I never got into Tactics. Yes, I know you can revoke my Final Fantasy fan card right now if you'd like to, but I remember renting it as a kid because I heard Cloud was in it, and I'm like, I like Cloud, maybe I'll like this game. And I never got far enough to even find Cloud. And then many years later, as a teenager, I would play the game again on Game Boy Advance, and I think that was the War of the Lions edition, if I remember correctly. I still couldn't get into it. But from my understanding and from a lot of Final Fantasy fans, Tactics has probably one of the best stories within the entire franchise. And that's something that I do genuinely want to experience and am interested in. And I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to trying new games and giving games a second or third chance. So maybe Final Fantasy Tactics Remake is what I need to fully get into Tactics as a game, as the characters, as the story, to really experience that for the first time properly and understand what's going on. Because again, this is a very revered entry in the Final Fantasy franchise. And if they stick to what they did in the original and have Cloud in it, maybe if there's voice acting, that could be one of the reasons why Cody Christian was recently spotted in the booth. Not just to do stuff for 7 Remake Part 3, but perhaps recording some dialogue for Tactics if Cloud ends up being in there. So this is cool, and I'm actually really excited. I don't know if I'll record my reaction to this trailer, but I definitely do want to talk about it, because I do want to experience, again, what this story is, because I hear it's really, really good. But now we move on to FF7 Remake Part 3. Now again, in regards to 7 Remake Part 3, I would expect a teaser sometime between now and September. Of course, Motomo Toriyama letting us know that by the time that 2nd year anniversary hits for Ever Crisis, we should have updates on Remake Part 3. And again, that does kind of keep in line with what Square Enix did with the marketing for Rebirth, where they gave us that special 10-minute showcase that gave us the announcement that it's going to be a trilogy and that the second game would be titled Rebirth. And then we got that very short teaser. I think it was in 2022, if I get my dates right there. 2023 comes along, we get our first official trailer, and then the game came out in early 2024. So things are kind of lining up good for Remake Part 3 should that game actually happen in 2027, for them to give us a teaser now, or sometime between now and September, and then next year is when they really kick that marketing into full gear. Because like I mentioned in the Summer Game Fest video, the marketing for Rebirth was not great. I think they were a little too lax on that game. I think maybe they were coasting on the success of 7 Remake and the name recognition to push Rebirth fully out there, because they didn't really market that game a ton. And I think they want to learn from their mistakes with Rebirth for Part 3, and I think they're really going to take full advantage of marketing this game for at least a full year, maybe a year and a half, to kind of tease people and let people know, like, hey, don't forget about this game. It's the cap off to our trilogy. It's potentially going to be the biggest and best one yet. Please be excited. I say that phrase a lot because Japanese developers tend to say, please be excited for our game. So I think Square is really going to want to learn from those marketing mistakes and really be like, you know what, we really got to push this game out there. We do have to spend a lot of marketing dollars so we don't have, you know, a situation where Rebirth comes out and there are people that don't even know it's out, which did happen. So a remake Part 3 teaser does make sense in this time frame. I think we get the title of the game, which again, I'm leaning more towards Return, but it could be anything. I've seen some people say Requiem, which I'm not a big fan of. Requiem, Resurrection, those are terms that to me, whenever they're used in like movies, it feels just kind of cheesy and cliche. I think of like Halloween Resurrection, which was a really bad movie. I'm just not a fan of those two words in particular. I like Return, or you could pull a Nomura and just be like, boom, we're calling it Final Fantasy VII Remake. So now you've got Remake, Rebirth, and Remake. Make it even extra confusing for the regular game players out there. And I assume, again, Sony still has exclusivity rights over this trilogy, and I really hope I'm wrong there, but we know they're going to be the ones pushing it at State of Plays whenever they get the opportunity, and I just really hope that that game, if it does come out with an exclusivity window, that hopefully it's a short one, and then they can get that game on Switch 2, PC, maybe Xbox. Maybe that could happen at Summer Game Fest where they announce, like, yeah, the Xbox port of Remake is coming. Maybe an Xbox port of Final Fantasy 16 is coming. Those are possibilities at Jeff's event as well. But I'm just excited, man. We're in that proper time frame, and I know it does seem early, but again, I normally would be like, yeah, it's too early to get anything, but I'm going off of Motomo Toriyama, man. He's giving me hope. Don't do that to me, Toriyama-san. Don't give me hope that we will see something. Now, moving on to our final game, Final Fantasy IX Remake. Now, I do want to address something because I've seen some videos pop up in my recommendation feed on YouTube, which I always click away from, but apparently there have been some genuinely like real solidified leaks in regards to Final Fantasy IX Remake. I'm talking release dates, screenshots, information on gameplay, tons of stuff. Now, as I mentioned earlier when talking about Resident Evil 9, one thing you're not going to see me do on this channel is dive into leaks. I don't like leaks. I think it ruins all the fun and excitement of a big reveal, and you've got developers who are working their butts off to present something that's going to be a really cool surprise for the gaming audience, and then some jackass gets a hold of this info and leaks it everywhere. I personally don't understand why people do it. Do they want clout? Do they want the attention? Were they not hugged enough as a child? I really don't know. I don't cover that on the channel because I don't like to perpetuate that stuff. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else who chooses to cover leaks. If someone has a channel and they want to cover leaks, they're free to do so. It's their channel. You got to do what you got to do. But for me, I got to stay away from that stuff. I don't want to spoil stuff for myself or for other people. So you won't see me talking about that stuff here on the channel. But if we're going off of like rumors that have kind of popped up here and there, again, take everything with a grain of salt, because there was people popping out of the woodwork saying, yeah, I saw the game, and then random people on like forums saying, oh no, I've seen it and it's going to be this, this, and this. The one thing I remember reading about was that it seemed like this game could potentially be a Sony exclusive, which that was a long time ago when I saw that article, and so much could have changed between then and now with Square Enix really doing a lot of restructuring of their company, wanting to go multi-platform. So it's possible that at one point in time, Sony did have exclusivity rights to this game. Maybe Square Enix reworked it and we're like, you know what, we're going to get rid of the exclusivity. We're going to make sure this game is multi-platform, but maybe Sony still has, again, like Resident Evil or Oni Musha, exclusivity when it comes to marketing the game. So they're going to closely tie it to the PlayStation brand, which means it could show up at a State of Play if it doesn't show up at Jeff's event. So I would expect, if it's real and if it does happen, a big full-on reveal trailer, show us all the characters. If it's got voice acting, let us hear the voices of, most of the cast. Show us gameplay. Are there any quality of life things that they've added into combat or menus? What's the music gonna sound like? Because the soundtrack of 9 is so phenomenal. I'm kind of excited, but also kind of nervous to hear how they've changed it, who's doing the score for the game. One of the biggest things I want to know is who is even making this remake. Should it be real? Did Square Enix outsource it? Is it a team within Square Enix that's working on it? Because CS1 and CS3 have been very busy. So I'm very curious to see who's making it. And I think with a proper reveal trailer, we'll get all of that information, probably even, some articles and info dumps that we can cover here on the channel, which is just super exciting. And I've got some more thoughts that I'd like to expand upon, but I'd like to save them for a proper reaction video. Again, should this actually be real and exist? I just think that Final Fantasy IX Remake coming out now at the time it is kind of poetic. But again, I'll save my full thoughts for a different video. Now with that being said, that is the video. Sorry for saving Final Fantasy to the end. With how YouTube works, I gotta boost the watch time, so I have to put the main attraction at the very end of the video. It sucks, but that's just kind of how, operating a YouTube channel goes. But instead of for those who come after, maybe think of it as for those who come before. That's the video. Let me know in the comments down below, what are you guys hoping to see at State of Play? Whether it's Final Fantasy, Onimusha, is there another franchise that you're a big fan of that you hope shows up either at State of Play or at Jeff's event, or maybe even that Xbox showcase? Let me know in the comments down below. I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.